doce, vá pra pesca na noite de temporada. A mãe se senta na areia esperando ele voltar. Pesca doce, vá pra pesca na noite de temporada. A mãe se senta na areia esperando ele voltar.
Celebrate the divine as you. The congregation extends their love through their hands, their power through their voice, their right vision through their eyes. And we say this: welcome to Agape. We recognize you. We see who you really are. You are the image and the very likeness of God. You are a unique way in which love, intelligence, and divine beauty are happening on this planet. Today, we get to celebrate your life. We get to love you up. We appreciate you. And we thank God for you. Welcome to Agape. We know who you are. It's been great, right? Ushers are coming forth right now because I think we're complete for the evening. You'd be okay with that, right? A couple of more songs? All right. Let's give the music ministry some love, please. As I mentioned earlier, the second Wednesday of the month is Extended Music Evening. This is where we have, as you've been experiencing this evening, the wonderful chants and wonderful songs of our music ministry. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for us to come together and bathe in these wonderful vibrations and frequencies that open us up beyond the intellect and to have a direct encounter with the divine through our sacred music. Look around the room and just always, like we love to do here at Agape, just be aware of who's with you this evening. And be aware that there are individuals in this room who have come from far and near to celebrate the divine presence of God that's in the midst of us. Each and every individual here has a degree of uniqueness about them and unique stories about whatever it is that they're growing through. There are individuals here who are celebrating some magnificence, a testimony, some wonderful healing. And there are individuals in the midst of an unfolding story of a testimony, and they don't quite know the testimony yet. They have a feeling that perhaps their back is against the wall, but they have come here this evening to be in a higher attractor field, to be reminded that there's always a way out of no way. And so you don't know who you're sitting next to, whether someone's birthing a testimony or whether someone's in the middle of discovering that there is a testimony. But we're all swimming together in an ocean of devotion. As you're scanning this particular room, you're conferring a mighty blessing on the individuals that are with you. And though your surface mind may be saying, I have come to get and to receive a blessing, the soul is saying, I am releasing a blessing. There's some power within me. There's a confidence within me. There's a joy within me, and I'm setting it free. So you're releasing that with every beating of your heart, with every deep breath of the body temple. That's what's occurring. You're allowing it to be one of the subjective tendencies of your life on the planet, that with every breath that you take, it is a blessing. It is a blessing to all of the plant life on the planet, but it is also a conscious blessing to everyone that you meet and greet along the way of your sojourn of unfoldment. Now take your third eye and allow it to focus it to your eyes, through your eyes, and notice one individual in this particular sanctuary and let them represent the entire field of this congregation. Look at that being. Focus on that being and say, my God, you're just so beautiful. There's so much power in you. There's so much beauty in you. You know, there's so much love in you. There's a generosity of the heart that's beyond compare. There's a poise and a confidence that is begging to express itself. And there's a creativity that has a right to be here. As a matter of fact, that creativity birthed you into expression. For such a time as this. Remember before this incarnation? We said we would be here. We said we would make a difference. Well, here we are. Let's remember together. Let's do this. Give me some love. Give me a 5. Give me a hug. Give me some kind of agreement. We are remembering together. Give yourself some love here. Celebrate yourself right into remembrance. Now, as we are allowing this soulful remembrance to be activated within us and allowing ourselves to be aware that there's something about us, there's more to us than meets the eyeball. More to us that can be captured by the sensorium, by external senses, which is why we come to a spiritual community, to be reminded that there's something about us that's timeless, birthless, deathless, has no beginning, and will never end, yet it is unique, and yet it contains the entire cosmos, and it is here to unfold, to reflect, and to reveal that cosmos in a way that has never happened before. You have come to be reminded about that, so that whatever it is you're moving through in your life experience, it does not get the best of you, but it does bring out the best of you. It does not get the best of you, meaning bringing you down and allowing that particular issue to define you, but it brings out the best of you, so that particular issue allows how God defines you to express itself beyond your wildest comprehension. So whatever it is that you're moving through, it is a knocking upon the door of your heart saying, there's so much power within you, there's so much love within you, there's so much presence within you, and it's now time for it to express itself, and that this is the moment. We are living in a time in which, as our indigenous brothers and sisters would remind us, as well as the great scientists of our day would remind us, that everything is speeding up so rapidly. The vibration of the earth is speeding up, and manifestation is speeding up. So a thought that you're having in your mind in this particular moment, years ago, it may have taken years for it to manifest, now manifests very quickly, because the vibrational frequency of the earth, the vibrational frequency of the atmosphere in which we are living is moving so fast that manifestation is occurring almost instantly. That is occurring. Now, that's the good news, and it is the bad news. But it is more good news than bad news. I can remember, of course, speaking with Malidoma Some, who explained as he was going through his elderhood training a number of years ago, that as he was in probably his 17th day of his particular initiation in the earth, Mother Earth began to speak to him, telling him about the fact that it had gone into another frequency of vibration, and that the planet Earth was waiting for humanity to catch up, that everything had speeded up, and that it was time for us to make that conscious leap into the next domain of frequency that is. And now scientists are telling us, of course, that the earth itself is vibrating at a higher level of vibration as well. That these are the moments that have been prophesied for hundreds and hundreds of years, in which there will be a great separation between individuals holding the vibration of love and compassion and joy and creativity and beauty and all needs met, and individuals who are walking in fear, doubt, and worry, and through that fear, doubt, and worry, living in the consciousness of scarcity and hoarding and greed, that there would be a great separation, a great chasm between the two, because the vibrational worlds would begin to separate. You're in that vibrational time right now. And thus the evening's talk is entitled Slow Down, so that you can catch up with yourself. Self being capital S. You have to slow down to catch up with yourself. Now the self with the capital S, the timeless, dimensionless, birthless, and deathless self, contains the fabric of being shot from the mind of God. It's an already done awareness, containing every idea that the mind of God has ever thought. It is an unfolding good within you that is so beautiful and so magnificent. It is a paradox of already done-ism, at the same time unfolding that which is already done. You have to slow down unless you get caught up in the phenomenal world, the transitional thought forms that people have been thinking for 100 years, captured in the noosphere, that is the mental atmosphere of planet Earth, all of the thoughts and experiences of humanity that's captured in thought vibration around the world that has a tendency to express itself as cultural mores, as superstition, as beliefs and ultimate experiences. All of that is going on around you, and then a lot of it is amplified by the mass ego, hijacked by the media of every particular culture, that would have you thinking of happiness in transitory ways and ways of materialism and consumerism and things of that particular nature. And so here we have the noosphere full of every experience that humanity has ever had. Here we have the thought forms that are amplified by our media of the day. And here we have the rapid speeding up of the planet Earth and the manifestation of things happening much quicker. All of this is going on at this time, and you're being asked to reflect and to reveal the cosmos in a way that has never happened before. And you can only do that with a level of coherence as you slow down long enough to catch up with yourself. To slow down. Come to complete stops along the way and ask yourself, is what I am feeling, is what I am thinking, is what I am envisioning, is what I am imagining, is what I am participating in, is it a part of my soul's unfoldment, or have I been captured by the world's ego of fear, doubt, worry, lack, limitation, scarcity, not enoughness, hate, bigotry, separation? Am I being captured by the transitory, or have I become still enough, have I slowed down long enough to catch up with myself that has a word's eye view, capital W word, a word's eye view, the word of God's view of the ultimate in humanity. Now, if you slow down long enough and pull yourself away from the fitfulness and the fearfulness of the world at this particular time in human history, you will begin to see with that inner eye that there is an intelligence, a beauty, a love, a creative force, a power, I should say, that is aching to express itself by means of us. And those structures that have condensed themselves as governments and politics and structures around the world that would stand as bastions of so-called power that seem to be in force right now or all around us. If you become still long enough, you would see that they carry what is called bluff. That they're made up of nothing by old thought forms, and they're begging to try to survive, but they will not. With the rapidity, with that which is speeding up so fast, you see the crumbling of that which cannot hold water, the crumbling of that which is not in integrity with the already doneness of the presence of God. That the crumbling of that which is not in harmony with the fundamental harmony of the universe. And so you have to ask yourself on a regular basis, is this day what I am about, is it about the eternal or is it about the transitory? And you have to be able to say on a regular basis, I'm living for eternity. And eternity, of course, does not mean a long time. That would be naive to think that. Eternity has nothing to do with time. Living for eternity, meaning taking a certain value, a certain spiritual quality, and say, my life is about this quality. Today, I shall dedicate my life to peace. Today, I shall dedicate my life to beauty. Today, I shall dedicate my life to wisdom. I shall dedicate my life to generosity. I shall dedicate my life to creativity. Every single day, you want to take a quality of the eternal and allow your life to be focused on that, so that you're not caught up in the transitoriness of the world ego begging you to be a part of that which is transitional, so that your life goes to hell in a handbasket. Now, I don't know who made up that particular metaphor about hell and handbaskets. It always struck me as a little bit funny. Going to hell in a handbasket. This needs to be said every now and then, just for the chuckle effect. But hell meaning stagnation, that's what hell means. It means a stagnation, a stagnated soul who has gotten caught up in that which is transitory and thinking that the transitory is all that. And so today, in order to slow down, to catch up with yourself, self being capitalized, you invite yourself to be about something that is eternal. Now, this does not mean that in this particular life, you're not going to experience the success and the prosperity and the health and the wholeness and the love and all of the things that people are longing for in this particular domain. But it does mean that those eternal qualities will be infused in that which appears to be transitional or transitory. You won't be caught up in the fitfulness of the surface tension of your mind. You will be caught up in the eternal flow. So you will be walking in this world, feeling yourself linked to the eternal, feeling yourself linked to that which transcends time, even as you bring the eternal into those small things that you do every day. And then you will begin to discover that many of your best friends will be those who have already passed on. You will discover that some of your best friends will be some of those people on the wall back there. You will discover some of your best friends will be those who have left eternal legacies through their music and through their books and through their poetry and through their architecture and through their ways of healing. And you will begin to commune with these individuals as if they were here now, because you realize they are here and now. Just because they don't have a body, you don't want to discriminate against them. You don't want to discriminate against them just because they no longer have a body. No, you want to begin to hold on to the harmonizing ideas that are eternal and allow them to flow through you with an ease, a grace, and a powerful spiritual dignity. Slow down long enough to catch up with yourself. The eternal will be your calling card every day. Those that have passed on, that are hung on to the eternal verities and have left the difference, will become your best friends. And you will slow down every single day and ask yourself, am I caught up in the transitory or am I caught up in the eternal? Now, when you get caught up in the eternal on a regular basis, there will be a deep breath that you take. There will be a kind of eternal walking in your step. The slower you go, the faster you'll get there. And you will discover that with infinite patience, there will be immediate demonstration. That with infinite patience, an awareness that what you're seeking is seeking you, an awareness that what you want, you already have, an awareness that what you're working on is already accomplished in the mind of God, there will be a patience that takes over your life. The fitfulness and the anxiety that comes from forcing something to make something happen will begin to dissolve because you'll be walking in an awareness that it's already happening. God is God. Love is love. Beauty is beauty. Joy is joy. And it will begin to take over your life. And you will walk in this awareness of it's done. It's happening. Now you begin to hear the voice of it's already done. And now you begin to be guided and directed from on high, from within your own being. And yourself, capital S, that's not lost in time, will be guiding your every step. It's already there. And it needs you for its unfoldment. It needs your individual soul to evolve so that the oversoul can unfold. It's already done, yet evolving through you. That's the paradox. And so you'll be walking in eternity, feeling and sensing that it's done, but at the same time unfolding and releasing that which no longer serves you, so that your life will begin to reveal a great work of art that's already there. And your inner work of identifying yourself with the eternal and the rapid speeding up of the vibration around you will become a blowtorch to that which has been built up around you, preventing you from seeing that it's already done. And what will look like life falling apart will really be your life coming together. What will look like things becoming dissolved around you will be the falling away of that which no longer serves and the revealing of that which is there ready to express itself at any given moment. You will see the love and the confidence and the beauty take over your life because it is your real self crusted over with time, now eternity breaking through. And this will be your life. This will be your legacy. This will be your living experience of God, Almighty God, all beauty God, all joy. But you got to slow down long enough to catch up with the eternal self that's already there, witnessing you, begging you to come forward. And then with that infinite patience and the rapid speeding up of everything around us, there will be an instant demonstration. Good news, you hold that vision. You hold that love. You hold that vibration of the eternal. Bam! Instant demonstration beyond your wildest imagination. Small print, fear, doubt, and worry, anxiety, scarcity, lack, limitation, selfishness, and greed. Bam! Instant demonstration as well. You will see the separation of the lovers of God and the lovers of humanity and those that just love themselves, that love their small self, that love their ego. You'll see the separation right in front of your face. There will be a dissolution of that which does not work and an emergence of that which is always working right here in time and space. And be still. Slow down. And discover you've already arrived. This is, as we're talking a little bit about this month, this is to enter into the temple of transformation. To be aware you've already arrived. To be aware you're already enlightened. To be aware there's a part of you that's already whole and complete. You enter into the transformation with the joy and the praise and the thanksgiving that it's already given, it's already happening, it's already here, it's already now. And as you hang with that awareness, bam! The body temple catches up. The mental body catches up. The emotional body catches up. And the rapid healing takes place. This is on you. You get to determine this. Simply meaning you get to focus your awareness. What's important to you? What really matters to you? You get to ferret out every single day what's important, eternity or time. You get to ferret out what's important to you every single day. You know, the qualities of the presence or that which you've been bamboozled by the collective ego moving through the mass media. You get to ferret this out every single day and determine did you have a good day or did you have a so-called bad day. And then continue to wake up. Look around the room in this instant. See who's swimming with you in this ocean of devotion, that is. This ocean of wonderful harmony, this sea of sacred divinity. Confer a mighty blessing from the depth of your being on every individual here. Take a deep breath.
That's right. Breathe. Breathe in and give thanks. And let me express my deep thankfulness for you being here with me, family. And for us having a very special guest today. I'm going to bring up a little bit of music while we get ready to talk to the great Chester Higgins Jr. Bertha Hope has a song called Stars Over Marrakesh. from a CD entitled Nothing But Love, Bertha Hope, and a beautiful combination in this song, Stars Over Marrakesh, with Walter Booker and Jim Cobb on the drums. Here in the Gardens of Tranquility and Contemplation, in front of my stream video camera. I'm going to put up the book that Chester Higgins Jr. has produced, one of his many great works. This one, Ancient Nubia, African Kingdoms on the Nile, with several essays and beautiful sites. The stories are replete with a history that is a testament to our people. Produced by the American University in Cairo Press, Chester Higgins Jr. is a great thinker and a magnificent photographer. And here's some of the proof. So we get to talk about this, and I get to introduce you to our brother for the first time here in the Gardens of Tranquility and Contemplation. Chester, I want to welcome you.
Well, thank you very much.
You're so very welcome, and it's an honor to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Absolutely, definitely, and I'm so pleased that we get to talk about this great work. And let me say to Mel Wright, thank you, Mel, for hooking us up, and Billy Mitchell.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It was such a great conversation, that we got a chance to engage in order to just give a sense of your knowledge and interest in our antiquity, our people's place in it, and many of the things. It is very special. I'm going to look at a little something here, and I'm going to look at my computer screen and offer the family a little bit of background on the life and work of Chester Higgins Jr., who has worked as a New York Times photographer since 1975 and has exhibited in museums throughout the entire world. Now, Chester's one-man exhibitions have appeared at the International Center of Photography, the Museum of Photographic Arts, the Smithsonian Institution, the Museum of African Art, Musée d'Art Paris, the Schomburg Center, the New York Historical Society, and the Schotten Gallery at Emory University. Chester is the author of the photo collections entitled Black Woman, Drums of Life, Some Time Ago, a Historical Portrait of Black America from the periods 1850 to 1950, Feeling the Spirit, Searching the World for the People of Africa, Elder Grace, The Nobility of Aging, and his memoir, Echo of the Spirit, A Photographer's Journey. His work is included in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art and has been included in numerous book collections and appeared in publications such as Newsweek, Fortune, Look, Essence, Life. Chester is a photographer on a mission, and his mission is to embrace, to reaffirm, and to challenge. Chester believes art humanizes us. The subjects of his photographs are most important to him, and I must add to us, in the dignity that they give to us. Higgins gives voice to the unseen interior spirit, the Great Spirit. His images resonate with a spiritual echo that maintain the image and frees it from the constraints of time, but also sets beauty free in ourselves. Much of Chester's imagery is inspired by issues of identity, and he lifts the identity and connects it to its origins throughout, or should I say, transcends time and space. Over the past 5 decades, he has produced a visual collection of truly compelling imagery reflecting a deep sensitivity and a great in-depth diary of his own explorations of humanity, the diaspora, and his concern with his own transformation. I have embellished a couple of things there.
I like that. That's pretty good.
I could feel it, my brother. I can feel it, absolutely. Now, this most recent work, when, may I ask, was it produced?
It came out in the end of September. This is a book, a 500-page, 5-pound book.
It feels more like 20 pounds.
It's a big coffee table book on ancient Nubia, and it's a collection of a team of 4 Egyptologists have been working on this for about 15 years to do a real encyclopedia, a comprehensive book on ancient Nubia. And they approached me about being able to illustrate this book. And so that my participation, they came to me about 3 years ago, and they went through my archives of from 3 different seasons of shooting in 3 different seasons of 6-week period blocks of shooting in Sudan, and from those archival images, we're able to give the book the image that it has, and to bring a sense of life to it that it has. And those images of mine are there because for since my first trip to Egypt in '73, I had been captured by the East African Nile River ancient culture, and I have been photographing it for my own edification, so to speak, until I recently realized, about 15 years ago, that what I'm in the midst of doing is showing the evolution of religion along the Nile River. Well, so that I photographed the ancient antiquity sites, and in my mind, I'm looking at essentially the footprints of God. And if you look at and thinking of evolution, the earliest humans, earliest Africans, descended out of the highest mountains of Ethiopia, because we have the fossils to let us know of the person that they call Lucy, the Ethiopians call Dinkwanesh, that Dinkwanesh and her people started out from the highlands of Ethiopia and migrated downhill, down the mountain, and along rivers. And migrations went very different ways. And it seemed, and the migration into the desert, of what is now the desert, was not then, that became Nubia, Kush, and Egypt. Those people are simply cousins of the Ethiopians, and this culture's cousins of the Ethiopians. So I've been trying to pull together, and I'm maybe a couple years away from finishing, but my work, which is called Before Genesis. So out of the Before Genesis archives came these photographs that works for this book, because this book, Nubia, is like a bridge culture between the ancient Kushites of Ethiopia and the Kemites of Egypt. So, and also these Egyptologists, and most Egyptologists, spend so much time on the 25th and 26th dynasty that we know a lot more. But one of the problems we have in Nubian culture is that the language is Meroitic, and there's so far there's not been discovered a tablet that would give us 3 different languages of comparison. So unlike in Egyptology, where we had the tablet that was found by the French and taken over by the British, and that Champollion interpreted. What was the name of the? It had it in. They had the language of ancient Greek, Egyptian Demotic, and the glyph, the sacred glyphs, and it'll come to me. Mm-hmm. But we have not found the same sort of thing with Meroitic, and that's what is leading to the delay yet. I'm sure it's there. It's just a matter of discovery and efforts. See, the problem is that Egypt is sort of, everybody's attracted to Egypt, and there's so much to find in Egypt, and for good reasons. Excuse me. But Sudan has not attracted a lot of attention of Egyptologists or people who want to invest the time to go into the desert and live in situations that don't have hotels.
Not only do they not have hotels, but it's a little scary, the internecine warfare. Is that still, has that cessated there? I know there's been a secession of one part to the other and renaming potentially.
Well, Sudan is the largest country in Africa, humongous country. So that in Sudan, there are different problems going on. In the south of Sudan, near Ethiopia, which you now have the new breakaway country of Southern Sudan, that's where the Nuer people live, in the Nuba Mountains. That's one area. And where you also have the Sud of the Nile.
And that's SUD?
SUD. And what it really is just a huge couple 1,000-mile swamp where the Nile comes in and evaporates into the clouds, and that cloud water goes back up to Ethiopia and comes down back again. It just goes around and
It
around.
recycles.
It recycles.
That's amazing.
And then you have in the west Darfur, which is on the border with Chad. But this area is thousands of miles. It's kind of like being in Missouri compared to New York, where these antiquities are found along the Nile between Khartoum and Egypt. So it's a different area, even though now there are problems there, but those problems are with it's a political problem because the Sudanese have decided to build a huge dam. And this dam is not only but it won't be sinking these antiquity sites, but it will be sinking the land of people who have lived there for generations. So these people will be dispossessed, displaced, and they are not happy about it. To say that it's not sinking some of the antiquity sites is not totally true because we don't know.
That's right. You can't have no way of knowing.
But but some of the major ones that we know, they are not in this zone. But there are people, different people like from in Providence, there's a guy named Richard Laban and others who the Sudanese Archaeological Society, people who are working and trying feverishly to find stuff. But it's interesting, they're running into resistance from the local people because the local people know that if you come find stuff, that you are essentially, even though you and the government don't have the same agenda, they feel that if the stuff is there, then the government may not proceed ahead with the dam as fast as they should.
Oh, so if you unearth it and make it a find, then that frees the government to
then continue at their pace.
Which is not necessarily realistic, because if you make a comparison, say for instance, just a hypothetical situation of comparing the Egyptian archaeological excavations and the breadth of them to that which would be proposed in this area of the Sudan, this could take 20 years.
Are we talking 20 years for the water to fill up the dam?
No, 20 years of excavation to unearth what is there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could,
or more.
It's unbelievable what humans have buried. If you think about over time, if it's 10 or 12,000 years of human settlement, what is there? It's a lot of stuff, but that's why it's against the law in Egypt to dig. Farmers can't dig. It's against the law because everywhere you dig, you will find something.
You will. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
And along the Nile, you will find stuff because there were people who were there before us.
Oh, that's just so, it's so profound, Now, help me understand some of the, before we talk about the 25th dynasty, which is the most popular one, I want to turn to page 60 and talk a little bit about this beautiful picture. It is a very romantic picture. It is reminiscent to my mind of something from the 30s for some reason. I don't know. It has such an old feel, with the green and the blue water, the green palm trees.
Well, the Nile is the Nile. You're looking at a picture of the Nile, and you're looking at blocks. This is not a picture that I made. It's a historical picture.
Oh, it is a historical picture. Okay.
You're looking at pictures of blocks that have been of a temple that has been disassembled before when they had built the Aswan Dam. In a few years, this land would have disappeared and now would have risen to be part of a lake. But the thing about the Nile, it has has that otherworldness look and feel to it, number one. But number two, it's interesting that you're looking at this because this particular temple that was rescued from the waters of the rising Nile is now on exhibition here in New York City.
It is a pilgrimage that I make with a very dear friend of mine as often as we can, and I have subsequently visited with my grandchildren the Temple of Dendur.
Yes. And it is the one place I tell people in the pilgrimage that you make, I hope other people will make it as well. Because I think it's the best way to be enticed, to be introduced, to be captivated to this whole culture is by coming to this temple. And all temples are celebratory chambers of the divine, eternal spirit.
You have a photograph here, and it's the Bet Saint George's in Lalibela, Ethiopia. It's a rock-hewn church, the most famous of 12 churches at Lalibela. Is that the way to say it? A sacred destination for centuries of pilgrims. And when I saw the constellation in the background of this church, in the dead of night, with this beautiful light shone on it, I just knew I was looking at a portal of a vortex of some sort. And what was your response? It was amazing.
I said that's what a celebratory chamber is.
The celebratory chamber is a portal to a vortex.
Right, of the spirit.
That's amazing.
And this particular image that you're looking at, to describe it more to people, if you go online and I love the way you say Lalibela. If you Lalibela, Lalibela.
Lalibela.
If you Google Lalibela, you'll find it is Ethiopia's New Jerusalem that was built in the 13th century, and these churches are much like how the Egyptians built their temples in the stone in the mountains. Instead of taking building material to the mountain for Abba symbol, they took away from the mountain itself, leaving behind vacuums in the stone to make chambers and rooms and temples. So what in the 13th century the Ethiopians did, they went to these mountains, the Lasta Mountains range, and they did a huge footprint of what they wanted the church to be. This was in the form of a cross, and then they dug it. They did like a 40-foot parameter between the interior footprint and the external wall, and they dug down 40 feet. So you're looking down 4 stories. If you come to the rim, you look down 4 stories in order to see the wholeness of this thing. So once they had separated the mountain from itself, leaving a monolithic stone in the middle, they then went back to that stone and chiseled it into a church. So what you're looking at is sacred sculpture that are churches that have huge rooms inside of them, huge pillars that are part of the same mountain, where people have service every day. And if you go to Ethiopia and you go to the church, in the daytime you'll find that very few people are in the church, because in the Ethiopian calendar, they begin church at 3 and 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh.
So that at sunrise is when the sun comes up is when church is finished. So if you can imagine coming out of these sanctuaries into this flat bed of the bottom of the pit at sunrise, and the sun is breaking, and it's almost like being visually lifted to heaven, because you're looking up 4 stories to where the mountain begins to the rest of the horizon.
Oh, that's magnificent. That is just so beautiful.
So it's another example, I say, of how the people who are in touch with spirituality take advantage of what I call passive energy, because this daily feeling of being lifted, reaching a high, is not because they have lights and loudspeakers, or things that you have to maintain. The Egyptians, our most ancient ancestors whose spirituality gave us the Bible, they would meet, same thing, early in the morning, and in the courtyard facing the pylons. And facing the pylons, they would then watch the sunrise. And that gave them their high for the day. And this whole thing of meeting early in the morning, getting up to be on time when the sun comes up, is being on time with nature is a whole new kind of concept. I didn't really understand it until I think my 2 trips ago I was in Ethiopia photographing, and it was that 3 to 6 a.m. and I'm hearing the the roosters. And I've forgotten as a country boy that roosters, when a rooster crows, it doesn't mean the sun is there. They start before the sun is up. And it made me think back to the Bible, into the biblical scriptures of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, saying to his to the person who was going to betray him deny him, he says, before the cock crows twice, you would have denied me 3 times. So that means in the old church, in the old temple, it was along the Nile. It was the same calendar, the same daily ritual, that all of the most sacred stuff happens a few hours before sunrise, and at sunrise it finishes.
Well, that's when I always set up my canvas. At 3 o'clock in the morning.
Very good.
I would take my little easel and put it in the living room and put my canvas on, and then begin to receive what it was, the inspiration.
I think that's a great idea, and I can see now why the creative people, musicians, all kinds of artists, they seem to receive more in those early hours. I remember as a student at Tuskegee, I used to wake up because I had this heavy load, 18 hours of classes. Oh. So I would wake up, I would go to sleep, maybe around 8 or 9, and wake up at 3 or 4, and there would be, because then it would be fewer people.
That's right.
And it's quiet, and you can just plunge right into it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really wonderful. Well, in the gardens of tranquility and contemplation, we always give honor to not only our ancestors, but to our parents. And we call their name. And it would be an honor for me to have you call the name of your mother and father.
My mother, Verity Smith, and my father, who raised me, was Frank Smith.
Is that right?
Now, I have other relatives too. In my book on Feeling the Spirit, I do a family tree, and my wife said that I did it along the women as opposed to the men. But I started with one man, who was my great grandfather. I am who was abducted from Africa when he was pubescent teen.
Was there any recollection of names that he remembered from Africa? Words? Any word that was handed down?
He may have, but it wasn't shared with me because he had died. And the people, my mother's generation, and her sister Anna Dora, who spent most time with him, never spoke about it. But what did come out of it was this. My mother always had this strange thing about red. She didn't want me to wear red. She thought red was, a ethnic color that was, as a school teacher, we were beyond. So when my mother died, I was raised in the triangle of Alabama, where Georgia, Florida, and Alabama come together. And my mother's from another triangle of Alabama, where Mississippi and Alabama and Florida come together. It's a coastal place. So I went back to her hometown after I had buried her the year afterwards to collect audio, to get all the family members together and just to be with them and enjoy them. But then to record what I call Verity's memories, Verity stories.
Spell the name.
Varidee. So everybody was sharing their memories of Verity. And this went, a few hours. And I remember finishing at the end. I said, thank you very much. I said, but my mother had a very strange a notion about her. I couldn't figure this out. And they said, what was it? I said, well, she didn't like the color red. And the whole room went silent. So the family historian, a very old woman, then speaks up, and she said, well, did she ever she never told you why? And I realized there was something behind this. I said, no. She never, what is it? And he said, well, it has to do with your great-great-grandfather being captured in Africa. I said, what do you mean? Well, and this is the story that everybody in the family knows that he shared. This they remembered. Everything else he may have said in words they never remembered. But as he told the story, he was a pubescent teen who had to go and live by himself in the forest to prove that he could overcome fear and that he could take care of himself.
A ritual.
A ritual. One day he saw this huge red banner going through the trees at a distance, and he decided, curiosity took him, decided that he would stop what he was doing, his chore that he was doing, and he was going to go and investigate. And once he walked out into a clearing to see and investigate what it was, he was captured by these slavers who were heading to his village, who then proceeded on to his village and captured all the other men, and he brought him back with him. So he had always, his one regret in life is that had he not paid attention or been caught, taken off from what he was doing by that red banner, he will still be home.
Oh my God.
So this is what the family has, the color of red.
Isn't that something? I often wonder, because you're not the only person who has spoken of this color red. And I was warned, to be careful to wear very little red. It was, it had something to do with something very negative for me. End of life kind of thing. And I know Southerners were very reluctant, out of our old Southern traditions to utilize that color red.
Right.
How fascinating. I wonder if it was a common use by the slavers and their shipmates to use this red.
Well, I think it was now, when you talk about interior capture, we're talking about Africans capturing Africans to bring to the coast to trade with the European. So a red banner would be the banner of power, the banner of the banner of the king in that particular area. So this may not be a banner that may be used for different situations, but if it's a situation of war or a situation of battle, then a red banner would be appropriate. But this is the banner by people other king's ships who have decided that trading with the European for whatever finished goods, consumerism here, to buy the consumer goods of the Europeans, what do we have to trade? They were trading many different things, but at one point you give out of those things and you find out that what they really want are people. And you would then, and that opened up some other avenues. It gave you an opportunity, one, if you captured these people, to add wealth to your little kingship, but it also gave you an opportunity, if you took the men away, that means that you can capture that territory. So there are a lot of short-term things that figure into people's ideas about why this was working for them. It had nothing to do with the people who were captured. It had to do with the people who were left behind. But eventually those people, even though their little kingdoms expanded, they also at one point became fodder for the slave factory as well.
Right.
So
certainly.
It was short term because you're dealing with an unequal, you're trying to be equal in an unequal situation, and it's only a matter of time before it implodes upon you.
Right. As we are experiencing today in these times. So incredible. I wonder if there will be anything left in the earth, deep in the earth, that will be a reminder of this experience that we have had and all that we have crafted, maybe,
I
1,000 years from now.
I hear what you're saying, and I have to say to you that, it took us 3,000 years to discover King Tut.
Oh, my God.
3,000. Who knows how many more thousand years it's going to take before another one of us pop up. And the Egyptians understood spiritually the eternity. They had an understanding of eternity.
What was their concept of eternity?
Well, that, whatever the life force is that's given us here, we are riding along with it. And they thought of eternity in terms of millions and millions of years, which seems to be true. But what I want to say more specifically, King Tut is eternal. Because not only did he live, but 3,000 years later, people in the future who never knew about him now is on the lips of everybody. Who is the next great one? Would it be an ancient Egyptian queen, an ancient Kushite queen or king whose tomb would be discovered, waiting to be discovered 5,000 years from now? They too will have become eternal, will have joined the Eternals. I don't think that, there's nothing in the cultures that we know now in this life that's like that. You have these eternal tombs that are being discovered in China from the first Chinese emperor, thousands of years ago. Within the last 40 years, his tomb was discovered. His wife's tomb was discovered. They are, in the old time, these huge tombs are usually built, if they did not, the Egyptians were the only ones who built pyramids for tombs. But most tombs are built on what's called huge tumuli that reflects that to most people look like little ridges or small little mountains. And under those mountains, those men that look like it's a natural mountain, digging down under those mountains, you discover these tombs.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. I'm looking at the heads from the Abu Simbel.
Abu Simbel, and a person would be the height probably of his mouth or his.
So you're talking 50 feet.
It's a huge stone.
50 feet stone of African face.
Yes.
With honor and dignity. Oh my goodness gracious!
It had all the things in it that we lack in this culture when we see the picture of people of African descent, and the three real.
What is this? What's this picture on page 80 and 81?
This is a mud brick temple. So before you were building stone temples, you use what you've got. And you have sand, and you have water, and you have sun. Those three ingredients, if you pull it together with straw or anything else, would give you bricks. And those bricks, you add them up, would give you a wall. And that wall can give you a room. And that room can give you a chamber. And that chamber with logs across it can give you a roof. Everything, the Egyptians, the early Africans were very much into being excited about being here, because here, so much was here. So many different realities were around you, or still are around us. The land, the air, the wind, the sun, the regularity, the night, birth, death, things. It's an incredible place. You have to think about we in the earth. I'm into astronomy. We in the
I am
earth,
too.
We in the earth, imagine, we must be tucked away somewhere in the cosmos in the backyard of something. Because that's the only reason we haven't been invaded or destroyed by other life forms. That we're so tucked away in the backyard that, nothing has been able to sense us yet.
Well, I don't know that I feel that. My sense of it is that we are visited. My perception is that you can perceive unseen with us. And if you invoke certain things, either through movies or books, this popular notion of what they look like, there will be a kind of a reverberation of the image back to you to say, hi. I've experienced that. And with other colleagues who've been in radio, they've experienced it as well. And, I don't have the feeling that we're alone at all. That there's something going on here. Stories being told, and an opportunity for us to restore our consciousness to this reverence that you describe of the here. There are great stories on the internet, on YouTube, about opportunities to honor the earth, messages from other sources and forces outside of the universe and to us here. So much. And I really think that a lot of that stuff is real.
Well, I agree with you in the sense that we are all connected. As nature is us and we are nature. So therefore we feel, and we must have some way of appreciating the different levels. I guess what I was talking about is that whatever the other realities, parallel realities that do exist, we have been fortunate that nothing that affects us adversely has been visited upon us.
I had a very close relative and this relative mentioned to me that there was reports that it was some movement on the moon and on Mars, and that we would go up, we would put our little spaceships, our telescopes and things, and they would be moved. I'm not sure if you've heard any of these wonderful stories, but
no, I haven't, and I don't know what to put into it, but I imagine that surfaces, most of the planetary surfaces have internal cores that by nature must be molten lava heated cores, which means that the planet is alive, and that earthquakes is a part of that movement. So there's not it's earthquakes would happen.
Okay, that's moves, a very good explanation.
But it's happening because of the heat, the radioactive fission is going on inside the planet. So there's fire in the universe. The obvious fire, obviously, is the sun, which is nuclear fission. But each planet itself has to come together and to create a certain kind of mass, and something has to hold it together. And in the middle of those planets, like in this planet, if you go down thousands of miles, there's nothing but molten lava. I mean, it's not even fire, so hot. It's just, and that lava, and that is turning the crust. It's feeding the crust of the planet. It's a recycling process. The crust of the planet comes up, it goes back down, it feeds through the internal lava, it comes back up again somewhere else. That's how we get gold, because of that process. So that the planet nothing is dead.
It's living. Yes,
everything is living.
It's a living experience. And our ancestors in the Dogon were able to track the movement of these living stars.
Right. They tracked the first twin stars. I think that most of the earth-based, nature-based religion has prospered under the observation of the heavens. The Egyptians, believed that the heavens were much like the milk of the cow, which is the cow's milk is considered like the mother's milk, is the liquid of life. And they saw that most information came from studying the stars at night. In fact, the Egyptians believed that heaven was the body of an African woman, and she was night herself, and she hovered over the planet on the solar pole from east to west, and the arms were extended to the west, so that when the sun set, it would rise through her outstretched arm, like a airport runway, into her mouth, where she was swallowed. And as the sun traveled through her body at night, she wore a dress that had holes in it, and the light would twinkle out. And in the morning, since her feet were planted on the eastern part of the planet, the sun would then, she would give birth to the new sun.
She would give birth to the new sun.
But when you look at the pyramids,
I have to take just one moment here. You know, at the birth of the new sun and the welcoming of the hour, the final hour of this year's end episode of Gardens of Tranquility and Contemplation, I do my ID.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
And I welcome you to this profound conversation with our beloved brother, Chester Higgins, Jr. The interwoven in the astronomy and the beautiful, magnificent book we have here by Chester, Ancient African Kingdoms on the Nile, Nubia. A 20-pound book of 500 pages. The beautiful, magnificent photograph here that looks like it wants to just lift off of the page. You can feel the grains, the stone itself when you look at this particular image. It's just such a special experience. And so tell the family what we are looking at in this imagery.
On page 94 in this book, we are looking at a tomb, the wall of a tomb, and it's the relief from the tomb of Penut. And what is interesting about this picture, you'll see this procession of people who are going with the coffin, and also you'll see damage on the stone. That's because of water damage.
Yes.
But what's interesting here is you see that they're all these very stately friends of the deceased.
Yes.
They're a nice group of friends. You would like to have these as a group of friends.
I would say so.
And they're all carrying flowers or papyrus plants. And they on the women, on the top of their head, they have these little things that look like little cups, which are actually buttered in scented butter.
Scented butter.
The women in Ethiopia still do it. They put the scented butter on their head. The women in the country, not in the city, because it's the traditional custom. And they take this scented butter. You can buy it in markets in the local towns, and they believe that as this butter melts into their hair, the oil gets into their hair and makes their hair nicer. It then drips down into their face and makes their skin nice and smooth. So it's a custom that is still carried on. And here you see it thousands of years before in this tomb in ancient Egypt. And then you see everyone dressed in white diaphanous clothing. And the white is a sign of mourning, because when you die and your flesh falls from your body, if you retrieve the bones, your bones are now white. So that's why the white is a mourning color, and that's why white is a color of any ancestral African worship.
You know, in this moment, we honor the transition of Jane Cortez, and we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit about her, because you and your wife know her.
Fierce warrior, Jane Cortez.
Jane Cortez and
Heaven
the Fire
must be
Spirits.
very excited right now.
Very excited. They want the oil, but they don't want the people. They want the oil, but they don't want the people. Jane Cortez is one of her famous songs. In the background, Birth of Hope and a beautiful song, Stars Over Marrakesh.
I don't know that part, but that sounds great. She said so how did that become part of what was?
Welcome back, family. We have Brother Eric Tate in the house with us, and I'm gonna slide Chester.
Barigani, Eric.
Barigani.
Ujama. Yes, absolutely.
I'm still trying to lock these principles into my psyche.
Well, you know, the Nguzo Saba I had the privilege of learning about through the great Imhotep Gary Bird. And it was just, you know, it's such a privilege to hear him and the great scholars. And don't, you know, let me not be remiss. The first time I learned about Mother of the Heavens, the Mother of Civilization, her representation in the Egyptian tombs, the honor of the Black Mother, the Black Goddess, and her birth of the stars and the light and the constellation in the universe, was through Dr. Ben. So Dr. Ben Yosef Yakanin, I want to honor him. His birthday's coming up. You know, think of him and remember that he along with Dr. John Henrik Clark and Dr. Ivan van Sertima were some of our great teachers, and I was just so privileged to be able to learn a little something from them that gave me such a reverence for what it is that we have before us, for the knowledge that is expressed here in Chester Higgins' book, where I get a chance to read to you. Isis, for example, was the most important of the Kushite goddesses. Her cult was so well established by the New Kingdom that the Egyptians gave her the title of the Mistress of Kush. By Egypt's third intermediate period, she had evolved into a demiurge who was mistress of heaven, earth, and the underworld. The Nubians' devotion was based in part on the broad appeal of these beliefs, which they encountered through their involvement in Nubian temples, particularly at Philae, but also on the universal appeal of Isis as an all-encompassing mother goddess. And in the photograph that is on this page 129, it's a tell us what it is. It's so beautiful.
It's a relief of Setet, Horus, and Isis from the Lion Temple at Musarat in Sudan.
Musarat al-Sufra.
Al-Sufra. And what it shows here is that, you know, Isis is behind the throne with the god, and here is the child. This is where we get the mother and child figure.
The original
mother-child paradigm comes out of this.
Yes.
And then Isis also spread because it was the Isis belief that gave us the belief of afterlife. Because Isis heard the event where her husband Asar was killed by the evil brother Seth, and she, in casting her spiritual magic, hovered over the body of the dead husband and took his seed, and from that seed produced the child Horus, which is the same impossible birth story that we get in the New Testament.
Right.
All of that came out of the paradigm of the African religion. But I tell people the most important thing to understand is that religion is an African invention. And what we may have come, it is the foundation, and that belief is the foundation of the other religions that have come out of it, whether that is Judaism, Hebrewism, and Islam. They have changed it. It has come through a refractive and oppressive interpretation, because in the African version, the woman, as you can see, is very important. Nature itself is very important. And in the refracted things that have come out of, as the people plagiarized the African text, and then turn around and demonize the very people that they plagiarized, they corrupted. So much of what was left in was corrupted, and the other things were just totally knocked out. But you would never know this unless you study Egyptian religion.
A question, Chester, is this whole virgin birth mythology rooted in that same African tradition?
The virgin birth is the same. Yes, but the strength is the impossible birth.
Well, I want to welcome Eric Tate to the conversation this morning and to the WHCR and the Gardens of Tranquility and Contemplation. I am so excited about our coming together here on the last Saturday of 2012. All this brilliance before me. I appreciate you, gentlemen.
I want to add something to that, Eric, about the impossible birth, is that, the birth also has to be prophesized. So, and in Egyptian, if you go and you look at the temple of to Queen Hatshepsut, you'll find that in the writing on the wall that her birth was prophesied, and that God came and slept with her mother, and that was meant that she was born of divine birth. So that when she became queen, people saw, wow, this was written before it happened. And also, so in since African religion is based upon forces of nature and soul theology, Christ himself had to be prophesied and also had to be authenticated by the heavens. So that's where you get the whole mythology about a star.
The star
appeared.
and the wise men following the star.
Right.
And okay.
And then, if you look at the story of the manger, you will see certain animals in the manger. And one of the most important animals is the cow, representing Hathor, representing also the liquid of life.
Oh my
Straight out of
goodness.
Egyptology.
And straight out of Egyptology. Is there any representation, mystical or otherwise, for the camel?
Well, the camel was not an Egyptian pictograph. It was not something that the camel is an imported thing into Egypt from Asia.
From Asia?
Right.
Oh, so that represented the importation of the Asians as they traveled to the manger to honor.
Also, at that point, you would have had the new habit would have been formed of the shepherd kings, which the camel would be a part of.
Right.
Their whole thing.
Now, I understood that the shepherd kings came to honor the newborn king.
Well, you have to think that's a political statement.
Okay.
Because in the time, the shepherd kings were in power in this part of the region, so that to give political authentication to the newborn who was supposed to be the new king, you would have to have him honored by whoever the political powers of the present are.
That would be the existing shepherd kings
Right.
who
The
are
existing.
now bowing down to this newborn.
Oh, is that
Okay.
right? Now, I want to understand the importance of Nubia in this in the context of this political development, this political juncture of Egypt, Ethiopia, and so on.
Well, there's several. First of all, even the ancient writers the Greek writers who wrote about Nubia say that it's the priesthood of the Meroe priesthood of the people who gave the knowledge to Egypt that they then took on and processed. Number one. Number two is that when Egypt had finally lost its way and it was down on its dumps, it was the Meroe priesthood, the 25th dynasty, who came back and gave Egypt its final renaissance, its final restoration, until a few hundred years later when it was then reconquered by the Syrians. So the Nubians who have received this religion of nature from their grandfather in the highlands of Ethiopia developed it and then passed it on to their grandchildren in Kemet. And when the grandchildren in Kemet made great use of it and developed a whole civilization and empire of it, and when they were down on their knees, Nubia then propped her up once again before her final fall.
And so we are used in this region at this time to prop up this fallen entity. Very similar. It's very interesting the way life repeats itself. Hey, Eric?
Well, this whole cyclical nature of existence, Western folks want to think of it as a straight line. And most Africans and other civilizations thinks of it as a continuous circle. And of course, you got the peaks and valleys along the circle. For me, this whole concept of repetition, rebirth, regeneration won't occur in a straight line. It only occurs in a cyclical form. That's for me. I mean, that's my own personal interpretation of all the stuff that I've studied over the years.
Well, he's absolutely right, and therein lies the dilemma of the human mind, because part of the human mind is willing to accept this circular motion of reality, but it's bothered with a certain sense of fatalism. Whereas there's another part of the human mind that wants to reject it because it is intoxicated by the whole concept of freedom. How do I free myself from that circle, as opposed to how do I embrace that circle and be a part of it? So there you have this dilemma.
Chester, you have to come back to us and continue this conversation, because this is just
It's the dilemma of human existence, period. And that's separate from all the political overlay that we have to deal with. That's just the pure dilemma of human existence.
And therein lies the tightrope.
And
Yes. There are many tightropes and many balancing acts as we traverse this circle.
and because of that, I say there's no way to avoid death, even though we may have a mythology that helps us connect to the hereafter. I don't know of any pope who has walked back.
Right.
But there is a way of making your mark upon time, upon here, that can be measured 10 years later, hundreds of years later, thousands of years later. And the marks that have been left behind in the tombs, which are really birthing chambers for the afterlife of the great rulers of Africa, continue to astonish us thousands of years later. They still make a mark on our consciousness, make an impression about the possibility of being human and the possibility of what this civilization can produce. And you then can start comparing, as archaeologists would do, comparing different civilizations, and you'll see that those civilizations that may have been mighty for their muscular prowess or their ruthlessness tend to wither away. Their remains tend to wither away a lot faster than the civilization that has been based upon a sense of embracing nature and embracing spirituality.
Here lies Ozymandias.
And who's that?
It's a very interesting fragment of a inscription on an ancient supposed monument to a great ruler in the Middle East. And it goes something like, "Look upon his works, ye mighty, and despair." Of course, there's nothing left for you to look upon. So that's part of.
And that's the inevitable.
So you don't have to worry about looking upon mighty works and despairing unless you invest them with some sort of spirituality,
Yes.
as opposed to just physical material.
Spirituality and honor. You know, this is, and in your book, this new work of yours honors our ancient kingdoms and thereby honors our connection to the universe. You know, it honors who we are at our very root, and it's wonderful to be able to connect. It is a magnificent book. It is really huge, a very special work. Edited by Marjorie M. Fisher and Peter Lacovara and Salima Ikram and Sue Adaria, with photographs by Chester Higgins Jr.
Chester, you did a similar thing, except it didn't deal with physical monuments. It dealt with personal monuments when you did the collection Elder Grace. Elder Grace was an amazing tribute to our people.
It really was.
And what I loved about that, it just captured our humanity with such grace and beauty that when you look at those images, you cannot help but understand how beautiful and spiritual we are as a people. And so for me, Chester, Elder Grace is like.
Well, we went nuts.
Now that we're getting up there.
I gotta tell you, we went crazy over Elder Grace.
Really?
We did. We came out in droves to see the book, to hear the stories,
it was amazing.
To
you
revel in the
see the
images.
exhibition?
Oh yes.
Those
oh
huge
my God.
ones?
Oh, that was so magnificent. We were so honored. It was breathtaking.
I looked at Elder Grace as a way of trying to honor our national treasures.
Yes.
And I think that, when our people, because of our, especially those of us with dark color, when our hair turns white, we look very angelic.
Yes.
I mean, we look so
Angelic.
beautiful.
And the lighting and everything. So, all the people I photographed, when I had the exhibition and these huge pictures, we brought all of them there with their family. And they came to the exhibition, and I think they were expecting to see maybe a picture that was maybe 16 by 20 or something. But then when they saw these pictures that were 5 feet and 6 feet big, they were like so amazed. And that at the opening, they all went and they stood next to their pictures with their families.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the bookstore sold out of books.
Right.
Because everybody had a book, and they was jumping one line to the other to get everybody to sign their book.
Yeah.
So it was really great to see how the subjects, the elders, were so moved by this exhibition, by this effort to celebrate them and to celebrate what they represent.
Well, I want to also mention that the photographs that you have brought me in postcards leave me very emotional. I look at them and I'm looking at such great art, such tender rendering, such depth, such beauty. It just transports me in so many ways. And I'm so appreciative of the gift that has been given to you to produce this extraordinary work.
Thank you.
Just extraordinary.
No,
Thank
I'll tell you, Chester, the reason why I continue to do what I continue to try to do is because you're still out there doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. May I say, because I do have to leave, I want to plug two things. One is that I hope people do find this book, Ancient Nubia. It's cheaper on Amazon.com.
Okay.
Number two, I hope that you go to my website, which is chesterhiggins.com. And number three, I want you to go to the Metropolitan Museum, and I want you to ignore all the other small stuff about Egypt and just go directly to the Temple of Dandur, which is from Nubia, which was rescued by the museum and the American government during the time when after the Aswan Dam was built and the river and the lake was rising.
Being flooded, right?
Was being flooded.
Yeah.
And I want you to take time to meditate when you go to this temple. Stand around this temple and meditate on what it feels like. It's something to be seen, but it's also something to be felt. And don't go with judgment when you start looking at the carvings and you see animals and kings and stuff. Just try to... People were into nature. They were into understanding that God was something that was superhuman, that we humans cannot make lightning. We cannot make the earth move. But we are here as part of this great drama of life. So that God itself cannot be simplistic one thing. It has to be many things. And those many things is an acknowledgement of his superhumanness, of his supernatural power. So when you see animals and things, don't think about the animal. Think about what is it, what spirit or what power of the animal that may possess, that may be why they use this. I give an example, a hawk. A hawk is not about the hawk that you can hold in your hand. It could be about the eye that once it's high up in the sky can see everything. But just open yourself up. It's going to take you many times to go visit. Make it better than a relative. Go see it often. And the more you see it, the more you meditate on it. That opens you up then to go back to the other galleries and just look and ponder. What you're looking at is a translation of thousands of years in different languages. You're not going to get it right away, but it's there for you. Gradually, the more you expose yourself to it, the more you open up to it, the more you appreciate it, and then you bring other people with you. And hopefully this book, Ancient Nubia, will be a great source work for you to start and making that journey and have a great time.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. ChesterHiggins.com. ChesterHiggins.com. That's Chester plus HIGGINS.com.
One word. Thank you.
One word. Thank you. And my best blessings to your wife and family. And also, very quickly, Jane Cortez.
Ah.
Oh my God, Jane Cortez.
Oh, we all we've all lost, a very important soul this week, in the transition of Jane to the ancestors. As we say, in some parts of Africa, a great tree has fallen. Jane is now with the ancestors in heaven, and I'm sure that there's a lot of joy in heaven right now that she's made it there. There's a lot of excitement. And we are blessed that she has been, that heaven has shared her with us, and that we have lived in the time that she had lived. So that's it.
Thank you so very, very much for that, because it's just enormous to have had her in our life and to have had you on our show today. Please come back, Chester. Because this is the beginning of a conversation, and I hope that we will share much, much more. I'm going to bring up something that Eric Tate has brought to us this morning in honor of our beautiful Jane Cortez. It's called The Breath of Heaven. Washington Jr.'s Breath of Heaven, and that is the breath that has taken in our sister Jane Cortez into its heavenly body. And the picture that I showed you is a photograph from Chester Higgins Jr. and from ChesterHiggins.com. It's called the Tanqua, the papyrus reed boat on Lake Tana, Bahir Dar in Ethiopia. And it just, to me, it looks like a woman on the water, but it looks like a great painting to me, especially with my glasses off.
Even with glasses on, it could pass for an outstanding painting. However, it's an outstanding photograph.
It's truly outstanding. Truly outstanding. I looked at his photographs. I looked at this photograph the Bet Saint George's, the Church of Saint George, and in Lely Bella, and I have to tell you, I just saw the heavens. I saw the heavens revealed. I saw the connection between this church and the heavens, and I knew I was looking at a portal to a vortex. It's his art is breathtaking. It's breathtaking and magnificent, and I'm just so honored. And here's a Surma girl. It looks like pure ebony carved. She is so magnificent. It's really touching, and it's such an honor, Eric, to have you here to share this moment, the end of the year, and to talk about this beauty we have in life and our divine creativity.
Creativity, poets, artists, basically my internalization of the power to create, which is spiritual, means the power to change.
Yes.
And as far
transformation.
And most outstanding artists tend to be activists, whether they intended to be or not. Usually what they do tends to be revolutionary and tends to upset the previous status quo or the current status quo. And then, of course, there are artists who understand that their gift of creativity has been given to them just to help better the condition of their fellow human beings.
Yes.
And so they're activists once they put pen to paper or put brush to canvas or to woodblock or whatever, because that's what they've been put on the earth to do, to help change the human condition for the better. My thinking is, if you're going to create, you might as well create with a purpose in mind.
Well, I think that's, that honors the origin of divine creativity. We were put here with a purpose, and our art serves a purpose. It is not frivolous. It is not mindless. It serves as a source of connecting and representing our highest and greatest good and greatest self.
Or a way of calling attention to what we have been doing to ourselves negatively human beings, or doing to each other.
That's right.
And so one of the things that actually got me started painting when I was doing painting was because I needed to tell stories that needed to come out, and articulating them verbally wasn't working because I really didn't have a platform anyway. So I ended up trying to.
How old were you anyway?
I started late teens, early 20s.
Painting?
Yeah.
What about drawing?
I was drawing when I was a kid. I wasn't the greatest draftsman or anything, but I would draw anyway. And I would use pencil. I would use charcoal.
And when you say you were a kid, how old were you?
I'm talking 12, 13,
okay,
14. I was probably scribbling other things when I was 8 or 9 or whatever. But all kids draw, Well, you give a kid a crayon, you give a kid a piece of paper, they're going to scribble and they're going to draw. So,
I started when I was 4.
There you go.
And,
that's about right.
and I was, I've been an artist ever since.
Yeah.
But the visual art part started when I was 4 years old. And that was, it was a tremendous honor to just to continue the tradition of the family. And to have the gift to be able to do it.
You can tell a story on canvas or with written words.
Oh, yeah. And I can hold this beautiful picture up.
Oh, yeah, you could. That's a graphic.
Definitely. Why don't you tell us what we're looking at?
That's the flyer. Yeah, that's the flyer for play with music called Tightrope. The actual canvas that the graphic is derived from is called Tightrope Walker, and that's the one I did back in my early 20s.
This is your painting.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a very gifted painter.
You know, at the time I thought I was, but that doesn't necessarily mean I was correct.
Well, no, I'm looking at it, and I can tell you, as a person with a very discerning eye, that indeed you are.
Well, it was a way of expressing myself and a way of actually telling a story, two-dimensionally, three-dimensionally, depending on the perspective you put on that canvas. Because, you know, when you paint on canvas or paint on canvas board, it's really a two-dimensional form. Then you just add whatever perspective you want to turn it into a three-dimensional visualization. But that basically came out of my trying to come to grips with the whole racial dynamics right after Emmett Till was murdered and where we were in the North American society.
So this is a biographical dramatic play.
All creative stuff is rooted in your experiences or your friends' experiences that you then transmute and use to your purposes and your end. Correct.
So here you are in 1958, 3 years after the murder of Emmett Till, as a young Harlem artist, and you identified yourself as an artist.
I did, because I did a lot of drawing and painting at the time.
Right. And you were wrestling with whether to continue your education, and in parentheses it says, and contribute to changing an unaccepting racist society, even as your family grappled with internal problems that threatened to tear apart a once close-knit, loving family union.
Some of that is autobiographical and some of that is made up.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
As is the play.
Okay.
The play that grew out of the painting, I use my personal experiences of friends, stuff that I had observed, and amalgamated it all into, at the time, what I thought was an interesting play. I never could quite get it to the point where I felt comfortable that it was actually articulating the total dynamics of all the forces involved. Now I think it's there, and that's why we're going to do this stage reading.
Wow. A stage reading of Tightrope. That's the name of the play. A dramatic play with music by Eric V. Tate Jr. and Willis Brown Jr., your partner in crime.
Yes, we did the music for Melancholy Christmas together.
That's right.
We did the music for Shaboom together.
Shaboom.
And so here we are doing the music for Tightrope together again.
What a wonderful journey. And you have Eric Coleman as your director.
Yes, and that's thanks to J.E. Franklin, because she and Eric Coleman have worked together a number of times over the years. So when Black Girl Ensemble Theater said, hey, we could do a stage reading of Tightrope, I said, fine. And so J.E. reached out to Eric Coleman.
I'm so impressed. This is the J.E. Franklin's Black Girl Ensemble Theater presentation of the stage reading of Tightrope. And it's going to be on Saturday, January 5th.
Yeah, that's next Saturday.
Next Saturday at 2 o'clock.
That's only a week away.
A week away. And you're going to feature Diana Solomon Glover, who you've worked with before.
She's been on a number of our documentaries. She's also the vocalist on Melancholy Christmas.
And what a voice,
we should play that. Maybe later.
Mike Smith Rivera and Chris Swan.
Chris has also been in a number of productions. He was in Shaboom.
Is that right?
Day, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness!
But he's done lots of work, not just with me.
And so you have to RSVP right away. You call 646-359-6243. 646-359-6243.
That's if you want to go to the stage reading reception. The reading is free at the Hamilton Grange Library. The reception is a $20 donation contribution.
Oh, we don't save money, monetary
it's suggested, and it's not,
Okay, right. No ticket prices here.
That's right.
But we do have a suggestion for you.
There you go.
For next Saturday to join us at the Hamilton Grange Public Library.
Which is free.
At 503 West 145th Street.
Reading starts at 2 o'clock.
And, yes, it does say admission to the reading is free. Mm-hmm. And the reading starts at 2?
That's right.
Okay, so then that means the reception that you'll be RSV for is a little earlier.
After.
Oh, it's after.
After the reading.
Okay, okay. Oh, this is just wonderful. Tightrope. Now, what intrigued me was the drama of a family that comes to being almost torn apart. A loving family unit, a close-knit family. Now, did that have any basis in your personal experience?
Actually, no. Thank goodness. What would have been the typical nuclear family, the autobiographical part is that the father is the musician who turns out to be the absentia father that becomes the total Colonel Thorn or whatever that's
lightning rod
embedded in that family dynamic that's been under the surface for 10, 12, 14, 16 years. And so when a new interpersonal dynamic gets thrown into the picture, then the cauldron boils and things are about ready to explode. So,
okay, don't give away the whole story.
That's why I'm giving you all these generic terms as opposed to telling you the plot. And we're only going to read the third act.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't want to give away everything, but we want to give people a good semblance of it's a dramatic play, but it's a dramatic play with music, which people used to do in the old days. Now they look at you as if you're crazy if you try to do that.
Well, I think it's coming back.
I should hope so, because any format that tells your story properly is the format you use. And of course, you know that's what I do over the years, whether it's radio documentary or television documentary or visual expression.
Yes.
If you need to tell the story, you let the story tell itself in whatever medium the story says it wants to be told in. So,
my goodness. Now, how many plays have you written?
I've only written 2. We did Shaboom with Rosetta Lenoir at the Almas Repertory Theater back in the 80s. Oh yeah, that was one. That's where Willix and I first started collaborating together.
How did you ever meet Mr. Willix Brown, Joe?
It was interesting. That we're talking like back in like 1980 or something like that, and he was here in New York. He'd just finished up a commission. I think it was an NEH fellowship commission to create a work, and our paths crossed. Can't remember where or how, but I remember Rosetta had sent me to Harold Wheeler and Hope Clark and a whole bunch of folk to help collaborate with trying to get Shaboom finalized and get the music wrapped up. And because it was a period piece set in the 50s, they thought we were just going to do 50s music, and nobody wanted to collaborate on 50s music. And I kept trying to point out that there was something like 8 original new songs that needed to be done, which was why Rosetta had sent me to them.
Right.
But nobody could see that. But
oh, wow.
I ran into Willix, and he saw it, and so he said, "Oh yeah, let's do it." So
oh my goodness.
So we sat down and we finished.
So the lesson.
We finished the song.
The lesson is don't give up. Don't give up.
Shaboom was a giant cast, and Rosetta said to me, "We can't do this. You got 23 people in this cast." I said, "All I did was write the story. I had no idea about producing it. The story needed to be told. I told it." She said, "We'd have to double, triple, whatever." She said, but when I called her back after we finished the music, she said, "Bring it."
Right.
And she said.
And so you got 23 people on that stage.
She said, "No, we're going to double and triple."
Okay.
But she didn't tell me to cut the cast or anything. She just said, "We're going to double and triple."
And what does that mean? Double and triple characters?
People are going to play 1 and 2 or 3 roles.
Okay. So, that's okay.
And they did, and
nice.
it worked out well. It was great audience favorite.
Oh, isn't that something?
We got a lousy New York Times review, and she said, "Don't worry about it. They've never given us a positive review at Amos." I said, "You're kidding." She said, "I said all the hits that came out of here." She said, "Not one positive review out of those folk."
What were the hits that came?
Oh, Bubbling Brown Sugar, Mama I Want to Sing. A whole bunch of stuff came out of Amos Repertory. I think Bingo Long, Traveling All Stars, that turned into that movie. All that that came out of the Almas musical repertoire. Rosetta knew how to pick stuff. Let me tell you.
My God.
So yeah. She said, "Don't worry about it." But then the review from what was it? Magazine doesn't exist anymore either. Backstage, or I forget which one.
Variety.
It wasn't Variety. It was a New York-based theatrical magazine. They gave us a rave review. Oh yeah.
Oh.
They said this is the best musical by in town. I remember that quote.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, I have the pleasure of speaking to a true genius and Renaissance man this morning, Mr. Eric V. Tate Jr., and it astonishes me that you can produce documentaries, that you can produce musical theater, that you can produce, art, visual arts, that you served as, was a cameraman or?
No,
producer?
I was a producer for 2020.
Producer for 2020 for almost 20 years?
8 years, but I was with ABC Television News for almost 20.
My goodness gracious. And a great journalist?
That's where I got my actual journalistic training, was at the ABC Television News Network.
But all of this artistic.
Oh, well, they didn't utilize all your talents at the network. Trust me.
No, but the creator has honored all of these talents
I have to tell you that I probably would not have continued along this path had I not met Morgan and Marvin Smith.
Is that right?
Yes, and I met
two
Morgan.
photographers.
That's my point. The reason I'm getting to that is not only were they dynamic, fabulous photographers, they were also, Morgan was a first-class audio technician, and he was running the ABC. He was on their news crew, and then he ran the ABC sound studio where they did all their stuff.
Oh, I had no idea they worked for ABC.
No, Marvin was freelancing in Hollywood, in prop masters and stuff like that. But they also were phenomenal painters. They did phenomenal oil and canvas and stuff even before they were doing photography. And once I met those brothers, I understood that they took whatever creative talents that were given to them and maximized it. They use it in any field they wanted to. And I went, oh, it can be done. And so I had great role models to continue to do what I was doing.
They used their painting in...
They just painted, they did photography, they audio technician, prop master stuff. They just earned a living and continued their creative paths. I've got to tell you.
It can be done.
It should be done. You're not supposed to. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just my philosophy.
No, we need to learn.
You need to be maximizing whatever talents. I go back to that Old Testament, New Testament. If they gave you one talent, you're supposed to use it. If they gave you 10, you're supposed to use it. You're not supposed to bury 9 of them and use one.
Oh my goodness!
And I think that parable was meant to tell folk that some of you are given and are blessed with lots of stuff.
That's right.
And you are supposed to use it to the fullest of your ability.
Exactly.
Not just for yourself, but for mankind.
Well, before we leave here, you've got to tell us about Media Watch.
Well, I still do the monthly cable access show in conjunction with EBT Education Productions, my company, and the New York Association of Black Journalists. We do a bi-monthly look at how the media is or is not covering issues and stories pertaining to the national, international, and local community, especially in how they look at people of color. And so this last show that we did to wrap up the end of the year, Bob Anthony, my Media Watch co-chair at NYBJ, and we just take a look at some of the stories that were covered well or not covered well, some of the stories that weren't covered at all, and we just give report cards and rate stuff and tell folk this is what you need to look out for.
Great commentary also.
Well, basically it's a public affairs show, and what we try to do is not just be, quote, objective, but we try to analyze what's going on in the news.
Well, you have given me the opportunity to share in analyzing some of those stories, and I really want to thank you for that.
You must come back.
I will.
Because we like people who have their pulse on the community, because we don't just do national stories, we don't just do New York stories. We do the total globe, whether it's the Syrian revolution or whether it's the Israeli-Palestinian stalemate or whether it's stop and frisk.
And another good thing about what it is that you're doing, and with all of these myriad talents, is you're training young people in Mount Vernon.
We're just about to launch a project in the city of Mount Vernon because the mayor and I had a conversation about what could be helpful to the city of Mount Vernon. They've been hit with a number of things because of a lack of enough concern about what's going on with young people. And so we're about to embark on a program where some of my colleagues, like Keith Gonzalez, who's my art director for just about all my projects, like this great flyer that you see is some of the work of Keith Gonzalez.
Oh, fabulous.
We're going to launch a program where they can get exposed to graphic arts, video techniques, journalistic techniques, just to expose them to a number of areas that in the long run hopefully will be training them towards possible careers, or at least sparking their own interest in becoming their own individual entrepreneurs, not just worrying about learning how to read, write, and cipher, but thinking on the larger picture of, okay, so if I don't work for some company, what's there in myself that's I'm able to maximize and utilize in my future?
Yes. Oh, that's just really, I want to participate in that too.
I am expecting you to come up and talk to these young people.
I'll be delighted to.
Radio and print and just self-awareness, journalistic endeavors, because I want to start training a cadre of citizen journalists who actually understands the role of good journalism, not just putting an opinion up on a blog.
Well, I feel honored that you should include me in the ranks of that.
Friends and colleagues, yes, because right now we have no grants. However, we will be getting some donations. I think we've already gotten some equipment donated by the Borough of Manhattan Community College, and so we're inventorying that now. And once we get that up and running, then we will start getting some young people in there.
Absolutely fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. This has been such an extraordinary journey and conversation.
So musically, how do you want to end this segment?
Well, we're coming down to the wire. I've got a little Miles Davis and A Silent Way on. I'll bring that up and we'll figure out what to do. You've got you got one more CD, right?
Yeah, there are two ways to go out. You could do the vocal version of Breath of Heaven, which is really tremendous.
Oh, how exciting.
Which is kind of like part of the Christmas season. And it goes back to that virgin birth, powerful birth, and all that stuff.
That's right, which originated in Ethiopia, Egypt, land.
So, but it's like a very interesting soliloquy from the Mary perspective about this virgin birth. And once I heard that, I went, wow, this is truly interesting.
Isn't that something?
And that was one of Grover's last CDs, not the last one, because he did something called Aria after this one.
Well, we are getting ready to leave the Gardens of Tranquility and Contemplation here at Whcr 90.3 FM. I am your sister Diaa. My brother Eric Tate Jr. is in the house with me. I honor his parents and his ancestors for making themselves the portal for his presence here, a true Renaissance gentleman. And I want to inspire your own creativity in all that you do. I want you to do something with a pen, a pencil, piece of paper, whatever it is. Cherish your ideas and use them for the coming year in a healing way. Express the truth. Express the potential for change and transformation. A little ID from us here.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
I want to thank you for being with me, and I am going to try. I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try that. I think it should be beautiful. Grover Washington Jr. Was a very versatile man, quite a genius, and I learned that through Eric here. You know, with some of the music that you brought me in the past.
Grover is just one of my idols, one of my heroes, one of my role models.
Oh, look at that. Well, it's good. We should all take these as a role model. We had Chester Higgins Jr. in as a role model. I'm looking at some of his photographs now, and they are transformative, I must say. But listen to this while we make our way, opening the way for essence and rhythm.
Have traveled many moonless nights, cold and weary, with a babe inside, and I wonder what I've done. Holy Father, you have come and chosen me now to carry your son. Silent prayer, I am frightened by the load I bear.
Mongo Santa María, leyenda de la música y un legendario padre también. Por eso su hija le canta este coro que dice así: ay, pero Mongo, tú no te has ido, Mongo, tú sigues aquí en mí. Si yo te digo, contigo aprendí que en la música existen nuevas y mejores emociones. Y te lo digo, papá, que gracias a la vida por darle un padre como tú, te lo digo yo. Pero de Mongo Santa María, sentimiento y melodía. Gracias a la vida por darme un padre como tú. Tu recuerdo me acompañará, papá, hasta el fin de mis días. Tú sigues aquí en mí, en mi corazón aquí. Tú ya te dediqué este canto y lo meteré detrás de este mambo.
¡Sí, señor! ¡Eso! ¡Eso!
Estaba charanganguito, estaba comiendo un hueso, y como el hueso era tieso le daba con la patita. Estaba charanganguito, estaba comiendo un hueso, y como el hueso era tieso le daba con la patita. Estaba charanganguito, ahí viene Don Pancho con sus calzones bombachos. Ahí viene Don Pancho con sus calzones bombachos. Ahí viene Don Pancho con sus calzones bombachos. Chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chao. Chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chao. Chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chao. orilla de la mar un mono se murió y una mona lo enterró con 4 velas de enferma a la orilla de la mar. Monito mono monín, ahí viene Don Pancho con sus calzones bombachos. Ahí viene Don Pancho con sus calzones bombachos. Ahí viene Don Pancho con sus calzones bombachos. Chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chumba que chumba cha. Chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chumba que chumba cha. Chumba que chumba chumba que chumba chumba que chumba cha.
¡Ay! This is 90.3 FM Whcr, Harlem Community Radio. Good morning, Nelson Ramirez arriving at the studios of Whcr. And this is going to be the last show of 2012. Hopefully, and God willing, we'll be able to continue bringing you the very best of the Latin jazz and Afro-Caribbean music. All right after making a bridge with the Gardens of Tranquility and Contemplation and the First Light. Wow, that sounds very profound. Oh yes, let me tell you, I wonder, like they say, what is going to be on 2013, because humanity is just growing apart from spirituality, and they are being covered by the clouds of ignorance, blocking the sun rays of wisdom. And you know what? The only way we can acquire peace is by having individual peace. That's the key, and that's what I advise for 2013. No matter what goes around you, if you have the individual peace, little by little, we're gonna have world peace, and as a result, universal peace. That's the goal. All right, believe it or not, but that's what you're here for. Okay, here we go. The end of the year, we were listening to music of Karina Bartra from Peru. We were listening to music. My brother, what's his name, that was here with you, sister?
Oh yes, Eric Tate.
Eric Tate, exactly. Yeah.
Congo Santa Maria's daughter.
Yes, we were listening to Ileana Santa Maria, the daughter of the legendary Mongo Santa Maria, the legendary percussionist Mongo Santa Maria, and that was a tune dedicated to her father, saying, "You never left. You're still here in our hearts. Your legacy continues." Mongo Santa Maria. And it will continue here on WHCR, especially in this show, because we do play a lot of music from his repertoire. All right. So we're going to continue with the music. What do I have? I have something not so, well, how can I put it? This is Jimmy Bosch is a trombonist, and he has been in the salsa scene, but we're going to play Latin jazz from his CD, Jimmy Bosch, Soneando Trombone. Let's see how he sounds the trombone on this one. That was Jimmy's Bop. Jimmy's Bop, the trombonist Jimmy Bosch from his CD Soneando Trombone. And he does that, exactly that. All right. We're going to continue with the music. It's New Year, you know, is the cold weather got to me, the ups and downs, and the immune system is saying, which way do I go? Today is 60 degrees, 55 degrees, and tomorrow is going to be 30 degrees. So which way do I go? So, since like everybody else, the immune system is confused and it gets weak. And then the viruses go into your body. And that's exactly what's happening to me. I have a tremendous cold. But anyway, we're going to continue going. It's 11:28 in New York. I'll be here until 3 o'clock in the afternoon with the best Saturday morning afternoon musical transition in New York. Essence and rhythm. We got them both. The essence, our essence, and our rhythm. Oh yes, indeed. All right, 11:29 in New York. Up next, Chembo's latest release, Wilson Chembo Cornell and his Afro Blue Monk. Hey, are you listening? It's me you are talking to, Chembo.